Okay, we will call this meeting of the Rules Committee to order. It's December 4th and it's 1:04 PM. Let's go ahead and do introductions.
Mark Littlefield.
Karen Braga.
Scott Myers.
Meg Zalatel, and we have Legislative Services staff. And
Claire Ross.
And Allie Hartman.
great, and we have Jasmine here from the clerk's office and Dean Gates from Assembly Council. I do not have a report, and we don't have the mayor either. So with that, we will, anything from the, oh, hey, there's the mayor. It's like you heard me say your name and she appeared. While the mayor gets settled, is there anything from the clerk today?
Nope, we have nothing to report.
Anything from council? Okay, nothing from council, other than I know council is busy. Legislative services?
Yes, I'll tell you about some highlights or things we need to ask you about. Allie is working on updating the Assembly 101 materials. I think we've been telling you about that. She has the new bookmarks are over on that table if you want to check them out. We're also continuing our work to coordinate capital improvement program planning between administrations. So we have scheduled a work session for February to start planning for 2026 on the assemblies. And we're going to invite PME and Parks to tell us more about their process for decision making to help you all understand where the assembly can fit into that. At the last meeting of the Salaries and Emoluments Commission, they approved MOA coverage of health plans. And so that will go into effect for everyone elected this April and forward. And then we're working on the energy retreat that's happening tomorrow, and Allie is going to send you some information about that out soon. And we're also coordinating with the administration on a homelessness convening with the chairs of the Housing and Homelessness Committee, Cameron Presvidia and Randy Saltz, and then Farina Brown and Thea Agnew-Benben from administration. So that will happen in March, and we'll be sending more information out on that as we get closer. And then I think we've mentioned that we have moved to Hive for organizing our workload between council and legislative services in the clerk's office. And so we'll be giving you all an orientation on that probably at the January rules meeting. And then there's one other thing that Allie wanted to talk about, the district specific newsletters.
Yes, this is an idea that has been cooking for a while, and now I'm feeling good about the mechanism for actually doing so. We've piloted a couple of district-specific newsletters with assembly members that have asked for it. Member Voland had a district-specific newsletter, and Member Perez-Verdia has had a couple of iterations. And I think one takeaway from that, and I appreciate it, is that it's a lot of work to produce a newsletter. I do that on your behalf anyway. So what I am working on in 2025 is, instead of having assembly members create their own specific newsletter, which can still be a great tool and would be happy to support, especially if there is an aid available to do that work. In lieu of, or maybe as a different way to approach that district specific messaging, I am inviting each member to provide a monthly update for their district. And that monthly update will be included in the newsletter, but only to those recipients who are in your district. So the workflow will be that I send out a monthly reminder to members, and you can just reply. There will be a word limit on the update, so it's really about your priority for the month or the thing that you're reflecting on that month. But then folks who are receiving our newsletter will get that personalized message from the member of that edition. And with a regular routine of 2 newsletters every month based on your 2 meetings every month, that gives both members the opportunity to have that monthly report.
Quick question on that. What about if you happen to live in the Spenard area and you have 6 assembly members? So something to think about is the overlap, like from community council perspective, we have a lot, or is it actually going to be based on your address? Because do we collect that information for our newsletter?
We do collect that information for subscribers. So when people sign up, they select the district in which they reside. If there is not a district assigned, then they wouldn't get any of that personalization.
Okay, guess people better select a district. All right. Anything else from legislative services? No. Let's circle back. Ms. Mayor, Madam Mayor, did you like to give us an update?
Why, thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here and good to see you again so soon. Thanks for a productive and short meeting last night. I feel like a lot got done and it was really efficient. So thanks. So just a few bullet points here because I just gave a report yesterday. So we'll touch on a few things briefly. Homelessness remains a big focus this week. We have more than 500 shelter beds in use and are working on getting warming stood up. So thanks for your support in voting to approve that second contract for additional non-congregate beds. We're working on getting our housing strategy finalized and hoping to send it out to engage stakeholders on Friday. Thanks to all of you for your thoughtful feedback and your partnership in this area. I'm really grateful for the work that the Assembly and team have been doing and accomplished on the Assembly's work plan. Actually, it's really exciting having been on this body when those processes were started to see the progress that's been made, and appreciate that it's on your agenda today for discussion. Also appreciate moving forward together on these shared priorities like housing and workforce recruitment and retention, public safety, good government, and more. Yesterday had a fun time presenting some really big checks to 4 charities who were recipients of the proceeds from October's Mayor's Charity Ball. And even though that's something completely separate from the mayor's office, I was invited to have that role of doling out some 6-figure checks. And that was really exciting, 5 and 6 figure. And that went to Alaska Adoption Services, Kids Corps, Anchorage Community Theater, and the Anchorage Firefighters Charitable Foundation. So that was really nice. And then you all know that the Municipal Legislative Luncheon is coming up on Monday of next week. And please do RSVP if you still need to. You also all know that the AML Annual Conference will be in town next week. And I'm looking forward to presenting to speaking to the group and then being up there with Felix and Anna to present the Assembly resolution to the delegates and welcome visitors to town. And that is it for an update from me. Just warm wishes as we approach the holidays and the new year. And just thanks for the work that you all are doing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've been joined on the phone by Member Soltz. Any questions? Yeah, Ms. Bronga.
I just wanted to shout out that I really appreciated your redirect after the speaker, the attack on one of your staff members. It was really nice to hear you stand up for. It's kind of hard to sit there and listen to that, and I appreciated you did do something.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Ombudsman Daryl, do you have a report for us today?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Meg. I just want to give you a brief update on our numbers for the year. Last year, our office had 1,449 contacts with the public. which included 493 contacts, 743 referrals, and 212 cases. As of 3 days ago, we have already opened 211 cases this year. We've already passed last year's numbers. We've had 421 contacts and 676 referrals, total of 1,308 contacts with the public. So we're on track for our total numbers to be up this year, but also for our case numbers to be up over last year. And I just want to say we appreciate the continued support of the Assembly and allowing us to perform our work. I also wanted to let the Assembly members know that the chair recently assigned me, and I know the mayor assigned Barbara Jones, to meet monthly with the executive director of the Anchorage Equal Rights Commission, do a check-in. Barbara had 11 years with the commission. I served for 13 years. So given our experience, we know, the administration, the mayor, the Assembly all want the commission to be successful. So that is our goal, to work with the executive director and the commission using our experience to help them to be successful.
Any questions for the ombudsman? Okay, thanks for being here. All right, that brings us on to new business, a review of the 2024 accomplishments, brainstorm and discussion. You have 5 of us, so we will do our best, but might encourage after to capture and maybe try to get a hold of members via email.
So all of your accomplishments will be prioritized, highlighted. So we've been doing this since I started, actually, with the mayor was chair. My first task that I got assigned was to come up with a work plan for the Assembly. So our process is at the meeting in December, we review all of your accomplishments for the year. And then in January, we fill out what you want to make priorities and goals for 2025. So to start us off, this year we're a little bit ahead of the game because we have been keeping this progress report, and we've gone over it a number of times this year with what has been done. So I was able to just pull out things that have already been accomplished and put it up on this for your 2024 accomplishments. So for this meeting, I just wanted you to look through this list and add things that you can think of that I missed. And then we'll send out this document to the rest of the Assembly and keep filling it out as we go. And then we can have an initial discussion on your 2025 priorities, but yeah, with less than half of you here, that might not work, or you all can just set the priorities. So looking through accomplishments under housing action, anything to add that I have missed?
So we just did one last night, which was removing non-conforming barriers to ADUs. So, I mean, not that I expect this to be that up to date, but.
Okay, moving on to quality municipal services.
Again, last night we can pop in the 2 or 3 different things we specifically spent the 1Q money on. So teleworking, capacity, Office of Equity and Inclusion, and the Fire Department Wellness.
Perfect. And then there's not anyone from the elections team, but I feel like we might have done some elections improvements this year too. So I'll check in with them to get that added.
Yeah, you may just want to grab the AM from last night for the Title 28 updates that were passed.
Oh, yeah.
And then the elections administrator did a really good job summarizing them during the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Economic development. Okay. Homelessness.
Probably want to add the in our backyard.
Because that had
project,
code, that had
yeah,
code changes to make that
There was a
happen.
code change and then I believe there was an small operations appropriation or capital investment. I can't quite remember which.
It was a capital. Oh, no, it was on.
It was operations. I think it happened about a month ago.
I was just thinking back, I don't really know the names, but we did, in Mountain View, the tear down of, so the vacant and abandoned properties, we've done, we is very broadly stated, but the body has worked hard on vacant and abandoned properties. So I was thinking that could be mentioned.
Yeah, the abatement of the property in Mountain View. Because there was specific appropriation attached to that, I believe.
All right, infrastructure and transportation. It's nice when you do your work throughout the year and then you don't have to cram at the end.
Is the state doing, did we direct them to study where those crashes occurred and
Or is that you mean the pedestrian ones? I think that's the third one where they've done the site visits.
yeah, I guess you're right. Pedestrian, yeah, I guess that's.
One of the infrastructure thoughts, it's responding to an issue, but I think it's important is supporting the repairs to solid waste services after the fire at the landfill. I think that's a big one because that's got to keep everything running. And then we have, I'm just trying to run through each one of the enterprises and utilities. Yep, so confirming a director and approving budget for Anchorage Hydropower, I guess.
If I can go backward on homelessness, so we've got funded emergency cold weather shelter, but we also did year-round, we kept the shelter open all year last year. We haven't really accomplished it, but George is working on the transit corridors. So we're just going to hold off on that one for 2025.
Yeah, there's a number of things that were almost there, but I decided we'll just wait and claim them in 25. All right, assembly business. All right, public health, safety, and quality of life. I suppose reorganizing the committee structure should go in here too. I'll put that in. All right.
Animal control.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Sold just texted and he reminded us it's not just that we codified mobile crisis, but it's mobile crisis now funded for 24/7 and running 24/7. Thank you, Mr. Sold.
Did the ID check pass last night too, so we could add that? I feel like you might have done some things and funded wildfire prevention, but I'm not quite remembering. I was hoping someone could just remember so I didn't have to look it up, but.
So there was a state legislative grant that came through for the hillside. So there was that, and that was a part of working collaboratively with the district's legislative reps. I don't think we funded anything additional wildfire. There may have just been continued spend of some ARPA wildfire mitigation dollars.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, if Mr. Rivera was here, he might put with the assembly business ushered through the closing of the 23 books.
Of the what?
23 books, right, closing out 2023, because he really did that through the audit committee. So I don't know if he would want to include that, but we might want to offer that up. He put a lot of work, time and effort into that. Sorry, Mr. Littlefield.
That's
Thank
one of
you.
those things you don't want to put as an accomplishment. Just should have been normal, but yeah, I agree.
I don't know where it falls either in public health and safe quality of life or the transportation, but the work that we did on the small boat launch, and are we continuing that on 2025 or? We did a lot of work there. We got some things accomplished.
I'd like it, I mean, under quality of life, I like that. It's a little bit separate and distinct from infrastructure. And I mean, the port's doing it because the port's stuck with it, but not necessarily because it's port related. We've been joined by Ms. Brawley.
I don't know about resolutions. School board. Well, not really. School board supported through some of the members, but.
All right, so my next step is I will update this document with what you've come up with today, and then I will email it out and then have we'll just do it over email, and then I'll probably just publish a final document for the January meeting.
Ms. Raleigh.
Yeah, thanks. And sorry I was late. I'm jumping in, so hopefully this isn't duplicative of the wildfire funding that I see on the list
Yeah.
here. I did see in one of the items that we passed, it was legislative grants, that there was emergency egress routes funding, which I know is wildfire related. And then there's the ARPA money and some other appropriations that may not have been fully spent. And I think there was federal grant. Anyway, just to say, I think that is something we should continue tracking, but I know there is money probably from prior years as well. Thanks.
Well, Anna, since you are here, there was one that I had your name by. Did we update childcare licensing code?
No, so that came up during the ACE fund, and there's definitely interest in it, but it hasn't kicked off yet.
Okay.
That I'm aware of. If staff are doing it, I don't know.
Okay. Next up is your 2025 priorities, the big picture. So that is on the front of that document we're just looking at. And so I just copied your 2024 priorities and wanted to, you can finalize this in January. Obviously, you'll need to with the more members here, but if you want to have a discussion about keeping these, updating them, editing, getting rid of anything, changing the order, any thoughts on that?
I think these feel like they're a good rolling list. The way we've been handling it, it kind of like some things roll off, additional things roll on as projects materialize, or members roll on and roll off of projects as well. So I really like this format. I find it really useful. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm looking at this thinking, is there anything big missing? I guess something to raise, and again, I don't know how much the assembly would be directly working on this is energy. You know, we kind of know that's going to be an issue, but I know that's not necessarily us working on legislation or, you know, so just to point that out, that's a big area that may fit somewhere else. The other one is, infrastructure. So certainly we've got the port, and then some of that falls under municipal services, but that's really operations. And I think there's, you know, we've been doing so much work on transportation, water, sewer, you know, kind of really digging into kind of that physical things that we need to build or figure out how to pay for building. So I don't know if it certainly wouldn't bump something else off the list. I just want to flag it as something that I think is beyond just municipal services. It's a little bit distinct. Thanks.
Any other thoughts? Okay, I'll add those to that Anna mentioned for the discussion in January once everyone's here. I will say, we started this in 2021, and a friend of mine who works for the Muni said he was watching one of these meetings and he saw me put up a bunch of butcher paper on the walls, and he's like, "Oh, that's gonna go bad." And then he's like, "But then you all started working and got it done, and it was really neat to watch." And so I think when I first started this process, there were some daggered eyes looking at me like, "We don't want to do this." So it's really exciting that we've come to this place. And the one that really excites me is I remember Meg put begin construction or something. Be ready to have construction for the port by 2024, and that was back in 2021. And I'm like, "Oh, good luck with that." And it really seemed ambitious, and so it's so cool to see how much that one's actually come. And I think part of the success is having this plan and really setting it as a priority and having everyone working together on it. So thank you for indulging me on my sheets of paper on the wall and planning. I love it. One last thing on this topic before we finish is look through this progress reports from your last year's work plan and just see if there's anything that didn't get done that you want to carry over to next year. And I've talked to most of you and gotten your 2025 priorities, so I'll be able to come to the January meeting with a draft list. But I think looking through this and seeing what hasn't been done would be a good place for you to start for that discussion. So I'll just be emailing you more on this topic and have a new draft to share with you in January.
Is it possible as we look at this list in January, we could have a column where we can identify if the administration is coming alongside particular projects? Like I just happened to catch the adjust planning appeal fees. That's becoming a very collaborative project, just so we can kind of mark that that's happening.
Yes, I already have a draft 2025 plan that's empty, but it has that column for who in administration is working on it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, thanks, Claire. Yes, I was one who rolled my eyes when we first did this, but it's cool to see it all in. I think we just resisted being so organized after years of not. So very much appreciate it. All right. So did that also encapsulate setting the top 5 priorities for 2025? So, okay, great. So prepping for January committee annual reports.
All right. Every January, you have a review of your committees, and last year that ended up leading to pretty substantial changes on how you organize the committees and the topics. And so I just wanted to give forewarning that we should have that discussion again this January. In the past, there's been some talk about committee chairs coming in with reports of, you know, like the highlights of the year, that sort of thing. So that's up to you if you want to do that. It will be on the agenda for January, and I will let all the chairs, I'll give you a reminder at the beginning of the year, but just be prepared for that.
Great. All right. Any questions, concerns about that? All right. So that brings us to assembly member discussion on pending business or updates from committees. Mr. Solt, do you have anything you'd like to share? Okay, we'll circle back around. Mr. Littlefield? Okay, Ms. Bronca?
I'm diving into safe storage, and Carl Jacobs has asked to work with me on trying to make some changes in city code to require handguns be stored safely.
Thank you. Mr. Myers?
No, but one of the things I wanted to go back to this other one for priorities is Mark and I are slowly working on District 2 comp plan, similar to what Zach's been finalizing. So adding that to this.
Do you want to put that under where housing? I was kind of thinking, I love that you want to put it under economic development. I like that broader view of a comp plan. I think sometimes they get a little pigeonholed into just thinking about residents and housing and not the broader picture. I also saw that it's proposed to possibly use some CDBG-DR funding to make that happen and get you guys over the finish line. So good luck. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
I just wanted to also mention, Carl Jacobs is working on a resolution to have the school district release the property by Totem Theater. So we're hoping for great things for that spot.
Very cool. I understand that there might be an update Friday at the joint board meeting. Okay, Anna.
Yeah, I'm looking at my list of folders because that is where all the things that I'm working on is. So I guess some heads up, not just my personal projects, but there are some updates in the works to both marijuana and alcohol license code that the clerk's office has been working on. And so not necessarily, well, I think the marijuana one might have policy changes. I haven't dug into that yet, but otherwise alcohol ones are really just cleaning up some fines and so on. So those will come forward at some point. Still tracking the ACE Fund Board. I'm not directly involved in that, but since I was one of the sponsors, I know that that group is actively meeting. So if you have ideas or you want to communicate with them, I don't know that it would be presenting an assembly member to the board, but you can share ideas they're looking at for future funding. I know Cameron earlier in the public safety or public health and safety committee briefly spoke to the project to look at community oversight / community involvement / whatever we want to call it of law enforcement and that project. So we're still scoping that out, but intend to keep working with the community coalition to really map out a process for 2025 to engage in. I'll also mention that our ordinance to remove special limitations from code. It sounds like Planning and Zoning Commission will be taking that up on December 9th. So that might be of interest if you want a little more context on that. And I guess we're also working on an ordinance to clarify some of the alcohol tax reporting requirements. If I remember correctly, the charter says, I'm almost done, by the way, there's a lot. The charter says that there's an annual report required, but it's not really clear. So we're trying to make that more clear. What does that mean beyond just financial reporting? And then I guess lastly, I'll say in 2025, I'm really trying to continue to focus my efforts on housing, finances and our budget, and then legislative advocacy, but also, there's other things going on as well. So I'm trying to streamline my work. And I think that's it for now. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Solt, did you have any project or pending business you wanted to brief us on?
No, the main one is Project Anchorage, and then also working on, I'm blank on what AO was, 2022-64, I believe, working on making changes to the jaywalking policies or laws for the municipality. And then, of course, we introduced tonight the request to put on ballot to move elections to November, and that's about it at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks. Can you repeat what the middle one was? It broke up just a little bit.
There was one that was around jaywalking and one around November election.
Got it. Jaywalking. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep.
For my purposes, I'm doing a little bit of internal branch work, looking at our intergovernmental charges. the things that we are charged for access to the services of the government. They haven't been updated or looked at in a really, really long time. And I'm not sure they're reflective of what happens, and what that does is it decreases our spending power as a branch if we're getting charged for things we're not using. Otherwise, most of my legislation has been filed or passed, yay. Again, I will make the invitation if somebody has something they're working on and they want some help or assistance, or you think we might have some synergy in projects, let me know. I know Felix and I are working with real estate on the visioning and RFP process for the old Federal Archive site. So that's a big one for us right now. Okay, anybody have anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
I was going to mention the Clitheroe property that they're looking for uses for, and hopefully it can be a treatment center. And we were talking possibly of some sort of tiny little home around it. So I think that would be worthwhile to keep an eye on. And the other thing on the homeless goals, we crossed out create public dashboard with homelessness data, saying it's too hard because there's other entities that have that. But I keep asking for like how many people that were in a hotel last year are, I mean, it doesn't have to be private information, but it would be nice to just know how many people that were in hotels last year have resolved and are on their own, how many that were in the apartments are resolved and have made progress. I think that's an important, as we look forward to spending more money on.
Can I say something on that topic? I still am keeping track of a spreadsheet of all the funding that you appropriate on homelessness. And so I've just been waiting until the end of the year, and I'll come up with an updated document for 2024. So that will give you some information on the assembly side. And I know it'd be so awesome. That's what Member Solt had in mind when he put that forward, is if you appropriate $1 million to something, to then have, okay, how many people did that serve, and have some stats behind it. And it's just too hard for us to get that. On the questions that you were asking, I just wonder if those sorts of things are on the ACH dashboard, and maybe if not, if you could specify exactly what you're looking for, and then we could work with them to see if they have that data.
I'd also recommend asking Farina or Thea to reach back in to get the reports out of any grant funding, because all alcohol tax funding grants usually come with metrics that have to be reported. Or Kim Rash.
I did ask Farina and Thea, and they were going to try to get the information about a week and a half ago, but it's kind of, it seems like they were having a hard time getting hold of it as well. So I'm just not sure who's the keeper of the data.
Okay, anything else? Anybody from the audience wish to participate? Nope, not seeing anyone. Oh, yep, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, first, we have our energy retreat on Thursday. I'm excited about that. So I need to read the materials. And I'm mentioning this because I know we want folks to show up to these things. So there's that. There is the AML conference next week. You should definitely, even though if you're not one of the reps, definitely consider going to that, especially maybe the Wednesday sessions. It's Wednesday and Thursday is the main conference. And it's always great to have participation there because it's people from all over the state. And I think that's it really for now, but thanks.
Okay, great. And Ally did send out at the beginning of this meeting all the information you need to know about the Energy Summit. With that, let's be done and adjourn. Thank you.